Boom, boom, boom. We live. We are live. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Those who are joining us. This is part four of our series. I'm cracking up because it's always great to jump on the podcast or the webinar, whatever you want to call it. Just with the fellas to be in the back room before we go live. We can be cutting up. We eat grabbing coffee, somebody's pouring a drink, like we telling jokes. So it's always a good time. So yeah, this is part four of Am I Worthy of Her Submission series. Today we're going to talk about red flags. That has been a common theme in the first three episodes. And next week we're going to bring some ladies back in. Y'all really like having the ladies on. I could tell. It was just a whole different vibe. The energy was just different. Like we was having a good time. That was the first show, Murph and Fred, that we actually brought ladies on our show. I don't think. Oh no. I think before in 2020.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I was rocking then.
Yeah.
You weren't, I guess, yet. But the guests were brilliant, man. The guests were brilliant. You had to enjoy what they brought to the whole program. It was just
yeah. Hey, Diane, great to see you. That's my aunt from Cali, man. She's faithful. She's on every week, brothers. I kid you not. And y'all have some faithful folks who are on here too.
Love that, yeah.
Up into the chat, man. Make sure you shout them out. But yeah, my aunt, man, she's born and raised in New York. You know, she one of those children. She was like, man, I'm just trying to see the world. I want to see what the world has, right?
Yeah.
So, up on the other coast in Cali, she got a whole Cali vibe, Cali flavor. Love her to death, and so she's tuning in each and every week. I just appreciate you, Auntie. And then here's Ashley. She was one of our guest speakers last week. She said she had a lot of fun as well. But yeah, getting back to the ladies, man, the ladies was dropping it. It was just great energy.
Yes.
Really cool. And I love the fact that it wasn't a contentious conversation.
Not at all.
You and Fred know, whenever we talk about love, relationships, sex, dating, and we do that men and women together, you know, arguing, yelling, and I don't see your point of view and blah, 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 blah. But no, it was real chill. And I think that everybody really shared their hearts to the point where, you know, I'm sitting back like I'm speechless. We tried to close the show out, and I was like, yo, I'm at a loss for words because it was just vulnerability that was taking place in the show that I didn't anticipate or expect that, right? And so, you know, as the ladies were more vulnerable, I think it caused us as men to look inside too and be like, okay, I'm in a safe space, right? And Murphy, you talk about this all the time, creating the environment where you can be yourself. And I think for many of us who are in relationships, we haven't always created environments where we can be our true selves, right? And so what you heard from us last week, if you haven't heard it yet, go back to part 3, was just an environment where people could just be open and talk about their lives. So we'll have some ladies back, some new sets of ladies back in 2 weeks. So not this week, but next week. We're talking about red flags tonight. That was a common theme that Fred pointed out. And Fred also pointed out that the term unequally yoked is another common theme that we really want to address. So tonight's red flags, we'll bring ladies on next week to talk about red flags with us. And then the following week, we'll talk about being unequally yoked. What does that mean? The Bible talks about being unequally yoked. But what does it mean in today's time? We ain't back in the BC days, right? So, you know, how applicable is that scripture, that text to our lives today? So we're going to dive deep into that. I can't wait for that conversation. But tonight, fellas, let's do it. It's on red flags. I really want to, before I jump into red flags, I want to pause just quickly. Just tell our listeners, like, keep those who have lost their lives recently in your prayers. I was on the radio. Going to the airport this morning. It was the 7th mass shooting happened in Colorado yesterday. The 7th mass shooting in like a week's time. Now you've got, you know, the Asian community that's been rudely affected, right? You've got other communities of color that have been rudely affected, and you know it's crazy. So I just wanted us to kind of just pause and share that. Charlamagne the God on the Breakfast Club was talking about that this morning, and I thought, well, when we get to the show tonight, let's make sure we at least mention that. Everybody might not be in the news, might not be following current events, but there's a lot of craziness that is happening. And so we've got a shift in administration in the White House. We've got these crazy mass shootings. We're still dealing with COVID. And so we just all need to be prayerful. And so, remain in deep prayer, positive energy, positive thoughts, positive thinking, and think about what you can do to be a solution, right? Stop talking about the problem so much. What are you doing in your life to add value to the solution? Okay, cool. Look, man, there's some names popped up. Okay, these must be some of the names that have passed. Thank you for mentioning that. Raw White, Kamal Williams, Sia Pinckney. If there are other names, as you think about them, post them in the chat. We'll pop up on the screen. We certainly want to keep all of these families in our prayers.
Damn, Jay, I am lost. I didn't even know anything about this today. I mean, I've been in my head in the computer today working. So what happened? I'm lost.
Well, the Colorado shooting was yesterday, and again, I'm with you, Murph. My head be in the clouds, man. Just been grinding on work, or I'm at the house with Harper. She's 5 months. She's 5 months. We growing, right? We making major moves. So I haven't really been in the current events like I should be. So it was a shock to me to hear on the Breakfast Club this morning them talk about all of the shootings and the deaths. I had heard about the I think it was a massage parlor.
Yeah.
Was shot up about 7 days ago.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
And then a lot of the messaging around stop Asian hate, and my organization we're behind that 1,000%. I mean we are trying to figure out how we can get involved in the movement. When you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, right on the front line, in many of those videos, you do see some of our fellow Asian Americans right there with us. And so it's just important, man, that we're all part of the same movement. So that was early last week. But what happened yesterday at Colorado, bro, I caught the tail end, so I didn't even really get a chance to hear everything.
Yeah, a man walked into a shopping center.
Grocery store. Okay.
Yeah, a grocery store, and killed 10 people, including the first police officer that responded to the shooting. Guy showed up carrying an AK, not an AK, but an AR-15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in trying dangerous times, but we're men of faith, man. So we holding on to to our faith for sure. Diane mentioned that Boulder, it was a grocery store. Okay, yeah, thanks, Diane. Yeah. Okay. All right, fellas, we don't have a whole lot of time, and I really want our audience to tune in every week, man. Hundreds of people tune in on 3 different broadcasts just to hear our thoughts, our voices, our lived experiences related to relationships, more especially tonight, red flags. So I want to just pop it off tonight. Fred, you said that was a theme. I think you're right. Going back to other broadcasts, we have talked about what are the red flags, and I think honestly, and Murph, you talk about this all the time. We're in the business of giving women a game. Like if we play the game and the game is over, like I turned the jersey in, I'm done. Murph, you done. Fred, you been done. Fred been done since like 19. Fred finished a long time ago. Right? So we turned in the jerseys, man, and we realized that living that life just didn't benefit. It didn't benefit us, but it also hurt the people who were involved.
Yeah.
Talk about it not being beneficial for both. There was no winner in that. None of us won. We hurt people, and then we end up hurting ourselves. So tonight, we want to really help women understand some of the red flags in relationships or prior to getting in a relationship to start to think about and consider. I mean, because of this broadcast, Fred, people email me all the time. I was just in the Uber today, and the young lady was like, "Oh man, are you on that show?" She's talking about our show. I told you I was in the bar one time. Somebody realized that I was right in the Uber. Oh, you on that show? And so she started asking me about her relationship. And so I recognized that people have a lot of questions. And so we talked a little bit in the Uber about red flags. And she said things like, "I wish I would have known beforehand." I hear that a lot. I wish I would have known. So tonight, I want us to talk about what are some of those red flags that we can reveal, uncover, help women to make better decisions about their relationships prior to. But then also, Fred, I want to end with this. I want to end with those who are in relationships that they love, they're excited about, but there are also some things that take place in the relationship that start to pop up out of nowhere, right? What are those telltale signs that they may need to make some adjustments? Or Fred, really, here it is, have some real conversation, right? Have some real conversation. Look, I noticed this. Your patterns have changed. You're coming in a little bit later. You're leaving out a little bit earlier. You're spending more time on your phone. You're here, but you're not here. What's going on? How can we help women frame or ask the right questions to get to what they want to know? Right? We spilling their tea. We spilling their tea. So let's start with some of the red flags. Fred starts off. Then Murph, talk about some of the red flags that we as men, maybe even you have done, or you've seen some friends of yours do, that women need to pay more special attention to.
Well, we started the original series From His Lips to Her Ears, talking about communication. Mm-hmm. And during the whole process, one thing we always referenced, certainly I did, was red flags. And the phrase was always, don't ignore red flags. And I always felt like we talked about those things that undermine relationships and reference red flags. So it was only fair to talk about red flags in an effort to give people the information necessary to avoid those things that undermine their relationships. Now, you just mentioned situations coming up over the years, and in my case, it's been numerous years, 33 years. Avoiding red flags is the first step to help you deal with subsequent issues in your relationship. And the first one I want to reference is the inability to communicate. And we talked about
that's heavy. Hey Fred, that's like half the relationships out here. Those who are single and those who are in relationships.
When you encounter someone who's unable to express himself or herself.
No, let's talk about the men. Let's talk
about the men. If you encounter a brother who has the inability or lacks the desire to be open and honest and talk to you, whom when questioned and not grilled, I don't mean given the third degree or interrogated, but just ask about your date. You ask a brother about his date or his plans, or you're going out, and that's not a problem with you, but you're going out. What's on the agenda for this evening? Simple things like that. If he's distrusting of you, you might need to be distrusting of him. If he's unable to or unwilling to articulate his plans, if he can't talk about issues, if you can't say, babe, something happened the other day, I was just thinking, for our relationship to really prosper, let's consider so-and-so. Whatever is on your mind, if he's unable to talk about it, unwilling to talk about it, it's a red flag, because these issues that manifest themselves early in your relationship are not going to go away. Don't be under the illusion that you can fix someone or that you can make him better or he'll, learn to open up and learn to talk to you. These aren't learned behaviors. It's the rare man who learns to really open up. It can happen, but be on the lookout and don't ignore red flags. That's a legitimate red flag.
I like how you mentioned the communication piece, man.
Real quick.
I'm going to let you get back to that. I want you to hold that thought. I wanted to just pause on communication before you jump to something else. I was listening to a podcast. Robert Greene, he wrote the 48 Laws of Power. Is it 48 Laws of Power? He wrote a book called Mastery. He was talking about his book Mastery, right? And he was saying how it takes 10,000 hours. Y'all heard that to really be really good at something, to master something, right? And he said, no, 10,000 hours is not enough for mastery. Let's look at 20 or let's look at 30,000 hours, right? And his book talks about when you put in more than 10,000 hours, what you can expect from your life. And as you mentioned, communication, Fred, I think that's the one area, brothers, man, we almost say, I just ain't a good communicator. That ain't me. Like that's I ain't gonna be good at that. Like we don't even ever put in the time to be good. But when I read that book Mastery, I started thinking like there ain't nothing that we can't be good at. We can master anything. It's just what do we really want to put our time to? So I'm glad you mentioned the communication piece.
Let me add on one thing. One thing. Pay attention to a brother's attitude toward the truth. And by that, I mean, if he easily lies to other people, if he's, quickly ready to bend the truth, if telling the absolute whole truth is not important to him, if the truth is a gray area for him, then communication is likely going to be an issue, because if it's a gray area for him in his everyday life, the truth that is, it's going to be an issue in your personal life, because I guarantee you, he's not going to turn on, the unadulterated truth when he talks to you if he deals with every other aspect of his life in a sort of a grayish, whole truth, half truth, sort of a way.
That's good. Hey, y'all watch Power? I mean, it ain't no more. Y'all watch the show Power? Well, come on, look, wait. Before y'all shake your head, like Frat is the main character. Mari Hardwick is an alpha right. South at that. Right. That brother legit. Anyway, right. I started watching the show because Mari Hardwick was in it. One of my favorite progressive actors. He's not of old, but of new. And when he first started talking about the truth, and he's coming home to his family, Tasha, his kids, he's cleaning money in the laundromat, but it's dirty money, right? And so his whole life is based on a bunch of lies that he has to continue telling lies just to cover himself, right? And I start thinking about how that spills into his relationship. And I watched the episodes of Power. Frederick, absolutely right. There was no way for him to clean money in the laundromat and be the deceitful, I'm getting money, but I'm selling drugs, but I'm making it look like I'm getting money through the nightclub. Sure. There's no way for him to live half truth in that part of his life and not come home and live full truth with his family. It was impossible for him to do, right? So when you said that, it made me think about that show and how hard it is for a man to really live half truths in the world, but come home and live full truths at home. Impossible.
Yeah. But Fred, what you said about communication, I agree with that. I also have a little caveat to that. I believe that sometimes a woman will accept a man who cannot communicate, who says he cannot communicate well, and his desire or his declaration of not being able to communicate well is him communicating well. He is telling you that I am not willing to change the game up, and you're willing to accept it. So a lot of times, you may not be able to, a brother may not be able to articulate an idea, but he can definitely articulate vulnerability and intimacy if he's willing to. And if you have a man who's not willing to do that, then you have to know that he's letting you know, he
letting you know.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being able to,
But I talked my parents into thinking that I wasn't really smart. So if I brought home a B, they were like, "Oh my God," or an A, they were like, "Oh my God." But I was like, I'm just a C student. You know what I mean? And really, what it is I got you to believe my reality. So a lot of times, these men will run game and have you believe their reality, that they are not capable of this, but really, that's just a precursor to running game. Because if my communication skills are ambiguous, right, then you don't know what I'm doing.
Ambiguous like narcissists, right? I was doing some reading on men who are.
I'm telling you too much. I ain't giving you too much.
Yeah. It's like men who are narcissists have a superfluous vocabulary, but they're never saying anything. You know what I'm saying? Like they're using these big words, and it's like, oh, you trying to run game because your vocab is strong, but at the same time, you ain't really saying nothing.
I actually said the person. So it's a precursor to running game, but actually, here's the game that they end up playing. It's called the drama triangle, right? So drama triangle. There's the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer, and it can be between two people. And what it is you just switch roles back and forth. So I come into the table, I'm like, yo, you don't know how I dealt with all day, and blah blah. So she the victim, right? I'm talking crazy to her. You don't know what I dealt with all day, and then she becomes my rescuer. She flips from victim to rescuer and goes, baby, I'm sorry, I didn't even realize it. And then I become the victim. I go, yeah, you don't know how bad it is. You know what I'm saying? And then she's like, I just overlooked it. And he goes, you know what? I'm gonna take care of you, babe. But really, what has happened is I just ran game on you. I flip roll back and forth from persecutor to victim to rescuer. And then I flip, and then whatever role you take, I take the opposing position because now I can continue to run game.
A woman has to recognize that.
Yes,
that's a rich statement.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, that's a rich statement that you made. That's valuable, man.
You have a well-intentioned partner a lot of times, and their desire to want to help you because you're talking about the trials and tribulations of what you're dealing with. But I think the key to recognize the game is when they talk about the problem and they don't talk about a plausible solution.
That's what I was about to say. It's not so much what you say, but what you're willing to talk about, right? You know, are the things important to your relationship? That's what a woman has to figure out. You know, are you always full of BS and trying to flip the perception of the conversation, or are you willing to talk about the things that she thinks are important to her and important to your relationship, right? Then how is your communication skills? You know, you can't back away from that. You can't pretend like you just don't have the connectivity to put a sentence together and address an issue, because you're going to have issues. And if a guy's going to run that kind of game on you now, trust me, it's going to be an issue later.
But you know, Fred, there's no but to this. And Fred, I think one of the biggest challenges, and we talked about this in the early show, is most of the time people have either not, and when it comes to expectations and relationships, it's either unclear or too low, or it's not even said. I'm just happy you with me. So I don't have an expectation of it, but it's an assumed expectation that allows us to run game. And actually just sit and put something in there about that from triangle. Actually look on tatutor.com. It's transactional analysis. It's a thing from Eric Burns. But yeah, man, it's really just about it's about a willingness to really connect with people. And when we're partner, well, hold on. We talking about red flags, right? I got one. So I think my wife is very shapely. And I noticed, I know if you saw her, you would think the same thing. Like, you know, you ain't gonna say nothing to me probably, but I know you ain't got no choice.
I would say, damn.
I'm not even mad. I mean, you know, well, you ain't gonna say that, Fred. That ain't cool. But you know what I'm saying. And I remember we were at the gym one time. Some dude, Emily was working out in front of me, and I was on the elliptical. And he didn't know we were together. And this dude was like, "Man, she's thick as hell." Like, bruh, like what? You know, he was like, I said, "Well, yeah, she's all right, man." I said, "But I got to tell you, that's my wife." He was like, "Oh shit." I said, "Bro, I'm good. I recognize that she's very attractive." I said, "I don't know how I feel about coveting her." I said, I said, "But you know, I get it." And I was going to say a red flag, I believe, is a high level of jealousy. I believe that sometimes people believe that jealousy is love, and it is not. It is control and insecurity. But some people believe it. My man,
you said was high level. You said high level jealousy, because I think you and I have had conversations before where I've heard you say some jealousy is good because it reminds you that you're human. But
some jealousy, I mean,
high level.
Some jealousy, I think it make you realize I gotta get my shit together. Like really, it's because you're comparing lions. Like, oh, I need to get my shit together. But then the other part to it is, I think that when it gets to a high level, it is when you know that you have to cater to his insecurity. When you know that you're modifying your behavior to make him feel better about himself, and when you know you're not doing nothing wrong. Like when you have to clarify that you're not doing nothing wrong, and you know from the bottom of your heart you ain't doing nothing wrong, but this dude is not just going through your phone, he isolating you from his friends because he feels some kind of way. Really what he's telling you is, I need to control you because I'm insecure. So jealousy, bro, I really don't think, and I would say this, the only time I've ever felt some kind of way is when I know I was slipping on my diet. Real shit. When I knew I was slipping a little bit, that made me, and I knew it was about me. Like, oh, that's about me. I get my stuff together. But other than that, I married somebody I thought was hot.
I like that, man. That high level of jealousy. It could be detrimental to a relationship. Trust is a factor. I think that's huge. You know, what I would say also from what Fred was mentioning earlier, communication. I think a piece of that is what does he value? I think that if you don't ask the question to a man, just tell me what do you value in life? What brings you what brings you happiness? What brings you joy? What do you hold be a top priority?
Yeah.
Right? Because when you don't ask those questions and you assume things like, well, he got a 6-figure job, he drive a nice G5 wagon, his house is almost paid off, he takes 4 vacations a year. You make the assumptions that because he has those tangible things that he has high values. Yo, some of the dirtiest cats have a lot of like resources and access to wealth, right? Some of the run the best game, right? Are doing people dirty. I mean, to the point where they're making people disappear because of the work that they do.
Right on. Right on.
So if you're not asking the question up front before y'all even get super serious, and even those who are in relationships now, still, it's not too late. Ask the question like, what in life do you value? Because when you're thinking about, I want to have kids.
Yeah.
So I have kids with him, and he don't value family. Family to him is transactional. Because growing up, so in his life, he's like, oh, my family turned against me, so family's like business. I don't prioritize family. But you want to have kids with this dude who just shared with you that his value system around family is transactional.
He told you.
He told you.
And see that, and what I keep saying, what we keep saying over and over again, Fred and Jay, he told you. I think a lot of times we have women out there who think that they can change a dude. Like you said, values. I'm a firm believer in value and beliefs. I married my wife because our values and beliefs were very similar comparatively everything else. You love family, you love babies, you love the babies being taken care of, you like basic needs being taken care of, you like extended family, you like to socialize, you like to have your own time, I like to have my own time. Cool. We good. A lot of times people are afraid to ask, look, I'm gonna change this good dude into a good dude because of our performance with each other is good.
Wow.
That's performative.
Wow.
Nothing to do with anything else. That is a blunt. I keep telling people, sex and the lack of communication is a blunt. It'll sedate you to think that you got something good, and really, you got exciting sex and you got exciting drama, and the drama is a blunt.
Wow.
It's loud.
Yo, Mark, you said it sedates you.
It's that loud.
Wow.
Let me ask this. When you start asking people what their values are, trying to determine somebody's value system, you better know what yours is.
You have to.
You need to know yourself. That's the thing about it. Are you mature enough? Have you reached a point in your life where you actually know what's valuable to you? And are you prepared to hold somebody accountable for their values or lack of values? So you have to have some foundation yourself. And one of the questions, I'm jumping ahead right here, but I wrote down, I was making some notes. The real question is, how in the hell do you ID all these things in light of the fact of your own psychological imperfection and your own imperfect perspective? Now we'll get there. I know we'll get there. I want to backtrack to something
that question. That's a good question.
And when you were talking about jealousy, because that speaks to trust. Now, if that's a dude that you're trying to get to know, or somebody's trying to get to know you, and he's real jealous of you, begun a relationship with some man, and he's very jealous, that may not be about you at all. It may be more about him. His lack of trust may be about his own dirt than about what he's actually, anticipating you might do to somebody who just looked at you in the parking lot of the Piggly Wiggly. You know what I mean?
The accuser is always the doer.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've known dudes dirty enough that cheated on their wives, and when I objected to it, when they told me the tale of their infidelity, and I thought, man, don't brag to me about cheating on your wife. I'm a family friend. I'm not just your friend. That's my
family friend.
And the explanation was, well, I don't know what she's doing. What the hell kind of sense does that make?
That's him justifying that bullshit. I mean, excuse me. justifying that stuff. Excuse
That's
me.
what that was. But
that goes back to your point earlier, Fred, about communication. You know what I'm saying? If many of us are not in relationships where we can communicate openly, because here's the thing. Let's talk about that point for a second, the infidelity point, right? The infidelity doesn't happen most times don't happen just randomly, right? Most times. I won't say all times, right? But most times it don't happen randomly. There is always a setup. There's always a flirtation moment. I got the number. You know, we met up for coffee at the Starbucks, turned into a lunch. Then it was a midday hotel snack, right? It's always a
No, Jay.
there's always a moment where you can exit.
right. Jay, so no.
No accidents.
No, here's my point. It's that progression, right? To Fred's point about communication. My point is, if communication is open in a relationship, the series or the progression that took place leading you to that particular place, right? You could have communicated that early before you even got to the Starbucks, right? No, I'm not saying that because I'm perfect. Hell no. I'm just saying because in light of learning so many things, listening to my brothers, in light of just re-examining my own life, I wonder, even in my own communication, what allows me to be honest, and then what makes me feel like I can't be honest, right? Is this word right here. If I feel accepted where I am in my environment, I can talk about anything. It's the moments I think one of the moments where we don't feel accepted, right? We may begin to put that muzzle on, or if we live in half truths, like Eric mentioned earlier, that's just the game that we run in. There's other factors, but I'm telling you, for some men just need to be in an environment to really open up and communicate.
We kind of talked about
Back to that
situation you're talking about right now, and it's about values. We're talking about values for one thing. We talked about men and communicating, but we talked about self-esteem and self-confidence. I think that's a legitimate issue with men too. You have to have the confidence to be willing to talk and to be open and to be vulnerable. I know, Murph, you're always talking about being confident enough to be vulnerable and not worry about that affecting your self-esteem.
Right.
And that's a problem that a lot of men have. We have been given the permission to actually be vulnerable.
That's right.
And they'll consider ourselves manly.
Yeah. You know, Fred, yes. And something you said, Jay, I don't know. So I've always said, man, I never really want to feel accepted, bro. Because I feel if I'm accepted, then I don't know. I feel like it's about what I'm wearing. I do.
That's trendy. Like if what I'm wearing is trendy, then I feel like okay, that's trendy, right? But for me, I'm just saying for me, this don't mean that everybody that's listening to us has to subscribe to this. Just for me, if I'm in an environment where I feel that my life's work, what I've been through, what I've overcome, the challenges that I faced, right? My grit. If I feel that I'm accepted, or maybe another word is if I feel appreciated.
There you go. That's the word.
Right? If I feel if I feel appreciated.
Yes.
Then
it ain't got nothing to do with nothing other than you, just you in general.
Yeah, just me in general.
You know what I'm saying? Like accepted is, I don't know. Accepted reminds me of tolerated. I appreciated is my wholeness. You know what I mean? And if I know you appreciate me, I can be vulnerable with you because I trust you.
Right.
Because you see, like on some Avatar, you see me. And I think a lot of times, a lot of men don't want to be seen, and they will choose women who are equally yoked. That woman who will tell you that they're a nurse, and no disrespect to CNAs, but they're a CNA. And so they'll one up it a little bit and I'll take care of you and make sure you're cool because my mama did it too and this, that, but that's activity. That's not, I don't know if that's love. I don't know if that's intimacy.
That's deep. That's activity. That's deep, man.
I don't know.
If we was in church, I would be like, Murph, you preaching. That's activity, bro.
I get your objection to the word of Wait,
I said acceptance, but Murph used the Murph appreciation, and then now I can see the value in appreciation. So I want to now change my language because I do sense that acceptance brings out a sense of tolerance, and then I don't want you to
someone else's approval.
I want you to appreciate my wholeness.
Right. It sounds more like when you say acceptance, it's just a matter of the usage of the word. It sounds more like you're meeting someone else's approval, which could be anything, right? It means that it's performative. You're doing something, whatever. That's just I get what you're saying, but that's what it sounds like. It's just a better word for it is what Murph came up with. I get what you're saying though.
And the only reason I do that because it's just I've had a lot of people say, "Man, I just want to be accepted by somebody," and once we dive deeper, it's really about them needing approval, and they're willing to mutate to get approval from somebody. I don't need nobody to approve of me. I need you to appreciate me.
Right.
But then if I'm slipping, as I think my wife has told me a couple of times, then it's my job to probably do something about it. You know what I mean? And that's it. My dogs keep running in and out, and I apologize for that.
It's all good, man. No, I appreciate that. I mean, we heard some really good red flags. We've heard communication. Murph, you mentioned, what was it, truth?
Oh, I got another one for you, bro. I got another one for you. Not really a friend.
We sharing it all tonight. Yeah, share it all. What'd you say?
Look, not really a friend.
So say more about that, because I think even the word friendship has to probably be defined.
We can have bomb sex, we can have all these other things, but then are we really friends? Can we sit and kick the willy bobo and have a conversation about nothing? Can we enjoy ourselves? Can we just watch a movie and do whatever we want to do?
Or can you just sit there and not say anything and become?
Not say anything. Yeah, Fred, I've seen your Facebook post a couple weeks ago. I think you and your wife were in the mountains, man. You were hiking somewhere. I just saw horseback riding, right? And so as Murph was just talking, that's an activity that reminds me of you have to be friends to be caught in the jungle, in the wilderness, on some bareback horses, because you don't have the excitement that surrounds you, other people, flashy things, music that you can speak to. When you're somewhere isolated where there's nobody around, it's just you and the other person, and you have to have real conversations to my point. Are you really friends? Oh, you'll find out.
It's amazing that you bring that up. And I can attest to the fact my wife and I started hiking a few years ago. First hike was in Utah. We hiked up to a waterfall in Utah in the mountains. But we continued to hike. And I will tell you this, what you just said is right on point, because when you're in the woods by yourself, number one, it's never more apparent to me how I'm her protector. I have an entirely different, you talk about walking on the actual curb side of the street versus letting any walk on the curb side, you want to be on the traffic side. I mean, in this regard, in the woods, I'm making sure she doesn't step over laws where there might be a snake. I'm doing things that are trying to think ahead to make sure we have a map, that we're going in the right direction, that we're not lost, making sure she drinks. I'm way more protective of her. And then lastly, the thing that you just mentioned was we actually talk to each other. We talk to squirrels and bears and trees, and there's nobody else. You just talk, and you talk about your family. There's comfortable silences. You say what's on your mind. There's no arguing. Well, maybe sometimes there might be an argument about the direction that you take, but there's mutual discussion about, should we go this way? Should this cooperation? I mean, there's a lot to be gained from spending that kind of time when you're not on your phone, you're not on Twitter, you're not on Facebook. It's just you and her. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy.
I got one last one. Not very much in common. Like we might have fashion sense in common.
Yeah, speaking of that.
We might like to rock, Giuseppe's or Muzella, whatever the heck. We might be to rock the gear. We might have bomb sex. But do we have anything in common? And a lot of times we will overlook that because of the material stuff.
Yeah.
Here's one. Add to that. You may not have a lot of things in common, but are the things you have in common fundamental? Are they foundational? Are they things that on which you can build a relationship and a family? Because there are no two people probably more different than my wife and me from a personality standpoint. But the things we have in common, or I was born and bred almost to be a husband, and she was born and bred almost to be a wife. We share the same, religious beliefs. We share same very strong faith, family, those things around which we built, merged our two personalities. She is accepting and understanding of my personality. I'm accepting and understanding of her personality, and it just works. She compliments me, I compliment her. We're not a whole lot alike, but what we share, what we have in common is monumentally valuable to our relationship.
Yeah, that's good. And Lita just mentioned, she shared something in the chat, man. And Lita, you sitting right in my head as Fred was talking about having things in common. And I totally agree. Like, you don't have to have everything in common, but I think that what you do have in common needs to be super strong, right? So Murph, as you and your wife, y'all are different. Fred, you and your wife are different, but the things that you have in common, I'm imagining you're both super passionate about. So Murph, in your household, I've been in your house several times. And Fred, I've been in your house several times too. Both of y'all.
Yeah.
Those houses several times. I know that there are things that you share with your significant other that you're both passionate about, right? Because I hear it in conversation. Murph, when you and your wife are talking, I can tell when y'all are getting excited about that conversation. And the same with Fred. So even if you don't have a whole lot in common, the things you have in common, you got to be super on fire about.
Yeah.
Like, that intensity has to be strong.
Yeah, there's a lot that people tell themselves, especially women tell this all the time. Women say this all the time, and dudes do it all the time to stay shallow. I don't want to mess with my friend. I want to date my friend. I mean, I know she's cute and everything, but I want to mess this up. And what they really saying is, she gonna hold me accountable.
Wow.
What that dude is really saying is, that chick is saying about that dude, that he's a square. I talk to him all the time. He's so level-headed. Why can't I find a dude like him? And he cute, he athletic. The reason why they don't want that square is because he's stable. That's what a square is.
That square is stable. He's consistent. You know what his meals are like every morning. You know what he likes to do.
He know everything about you. He know
You
all.
know at 4 p.m. when you look at your clock, you know exactly where he is at 4 p.m. Like, that who's unstable, you don't know where the hell that brother.
You don't want to date him because you already know that I'm already vulnerable with him. So I don't know what this feels like, and it's uncomfortable. So I'll keep him in the friend zone.
Yeah.
Even though, and the reason why I threw in the friend zone, because then I don't have to grow. I don't have to evolve. I don't have to find love.
That's good, man. That's good. Yeah. Speaking about growth, Lita, I put her message here because I wanted to mention that one of the red flags that I think that if a man has no vision, and we had the ladies on last week, and I don't know if it was Renee or Toya or Ashley who said that every man knows how to lead, and I never heard that before. Right? One of the women said every man knows how to lead.
Oh yeah.
Either he'll lead you to his Xbox, teach you how to play video games, or he'll lead you right to the formation and the design of a business, a company, right? And so I think one of the red flag is if a man has no vision. Doesn't mean that he has to have a vision for your life if he's just meeting you, but he has no vision for his own life. You can't say, brother, what you want to do in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like, what is the vision you have for your life? That's a question, ladies, you should be asking in the very beginning. If he has no vision for his life, and then you're becoming part of his world, why would you think that he has vision for you?
But you know what, Jay? I got a personal caveat to that, though. For real. I only wanted to be a school teacher when I went to college.
That's vision. That's vision.
I just wanted to be a school teacher.
That's vision, though. That's vision.
But I ended up becoming a psychotherapist and working at a university and doing everything else. So really, my vision right now is trying to figure out, is this what I enjoy? So, having a stable partner while you're developing your vision but you have movement.
It's called evolution. You're not supposed to remain the same, Murph. You're supposed to evolve. But when your wife met you, let's just say that you just wanted to be a teacher, right? But you still had vision then.
Right.
You still had the ability to sustain your life, right? And so when you met your wife, that means if she had vision for her life and you come together, that means you become interdependent because you already had vision for your life and
That's my favorite term.
And she had vision for her life and she was sustaining her. Y'all now have become interdependent. What I'm talking about is a woman who has vision for her life and she meets a brother who has no vision.
Well, I think what we have to break this down into stuff like vision is very specific. You know what I mean? It's like having a dream and all this kind of stuff. Depending on when you meet a person and depending on their age and a whole lot of things, we're talking to probably an older crowd in this webcast. But depending on when you meet, vision can take different forms. So we have to talk about sort of like personality characteristics. And I think you have to try to determine, is the man mature? And he may or may not be initially, but is he mature? And what is his propensity toward maturity? You know, is he responsible? That type of thing. So vision may develop along the way as someone gets to know themselves better and better and better, as their education advances, as they outgrow what they're doing presently and want to be or desire more stimulation or a greater challenge. So those things grow, but you have to try to determine what their personality traits are so you can get a sense of what their capacity is for vision and greater vision, maturity versus immaturity, responsibility versus irresponsibility, predictability versus unpredictability. You know, who are you dealing with? Is this somebody who is steady, work ethic?
I need a glass.
The wife just handed me one.
Fred, I get you, Fred. The personality traits and characteristics traits. I get you. You're right. I mean, brother, you're more seasoned than me. You're my big brother. I look up to you. I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying about the vision is, even if he only has 12 months in his head planned out, that's still vision, bro. I have 3, 5, 10. Let's just say he just has 1 year. Let's bring it back to 6 months. What do you want to be doing in 6 months? And then the second part of the question is, and what are you doing to work towards that vision? You just can't say, like, I want to be a teacher, as Murph said early on. And then the question is, well, what are you doing to work towards being a teacher? Well, I don't even know what I have to do to become a teacher. That ain't no vision. That's like, that ain't no vision.
That's the foundation thing. Dudes can say a lot of stuff. You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do whatever. But what is their work ethic? What is the likelihood of them actually doing it? Are they working towards it?
But K. Michelle made the song, trying to raise a man. So I meet many more CNAs who trying to raise a man and really, really doing the CNA-ing. Like he disabled. I mean, I'm not dissing. Again, I'm not dissing the CNA profession.
You're talking about CNAs last week.
But I'm just saying, man, like, I meet more people who are willing to take care of a man child. So I think that really it comes back to trauma. Real shit, man. I think it comes back to trauma. I would not I think that, it's very challenging to talk about the red flags because, as my father said, I could be laying on a bed of nails, and because I'm so used to pain, I think it's a Sealy Posturepedic. So we talking about red flags. What if your whole life been a red flag, but this dude ain't smacking the hell out of you in public? He's smacking you behind closed doors.
That's what I'm talking about. I told you we would get back to this. How in the hell do you identify these red flags in light of your own psychological baggage, your own needs?
That's a heavy question, Fred. We don't have time for that. Yeah, that's like bringing Murph times 3 in here to talk about, like, to really break that.
But I got 3 African American psychotherapists that I want to let you know when they're all female.
Okay, so let's bring them on. But I think Fred, that's a great question. Like, when you're dealing with the vicissitudes of your own stuff, you push your stuff aside to be able to tell that somebody else got some stuff that you might not want to adopt and bring into your world. That's a heavy loaded question.
Yeah.
The answer, we can't get into it tonight, but yeah, if you got some folks,
We have to eventually. Basically, how do you clear your lens of perception to see clearly, fairly, and objectively what's before you?
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, I got another red flag for you.
hold on, before you say that, I want to give some truth to our viewers who are throwing a lot of great stuff in the chat. Hey, Janae, she said, I'm not dating your potential. I need to see your fruit. That's dope. That's powerful. I think there's a lot of brothers who come to the table with pipe dreams.
Yeah.
They got great. Everybody got potential. Everybody does. But I love how you said, I need to see your fruit. What? And here's what I get from her comment. And Janae, tell me if I'm wrong. I see the comment is saying, I need to see what you've produced.
Yeah.
like what have you produced that is valuable in the earth? Not valuable to you, because if you produced a big home with a big backyard and a pool and you inviting your neighbors over, you've produced that for self. That's ego. What have you produced that leaves value into the earth?
Good question, Jay.
You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that is a rock star.
Good question.
Male or female, you are a rock star if what you are producing.
Okay, James.
In the earth.
Hey, we cannot contradict ourselves now. We cannot say.
What do we say?
We cannot start talking about, production in the form of performance and material things, saying that we need to see some monumental. What I want to see, if I'm a woman, I want to see what you have produced and what your attitude is about it. Say you got a big giant house. I mean, if that's just something that comes as a result of your work ethic and your drive to do well and your hustle, then that's fine. But if you got a big house so you can strut around with your chest out, get a lot of babes and get laid, then that ain't the dude. Right. So I'm telling you, it all comes down to character, man. It comes down to who you are and what you represent. It comes down to what's in there, you know what I mean? And what's up here and what you're made of, whether you're mature. Why are you doing these things? Why are you busting your ass? Why are you working so hard to get a Lambo? Why are you working so hard to get a Bugatti, whatever you got to get? Why are you working so hard to wear designer clothes and to eat at the best places? Or is it just for show? Is it to make you feel good?
Right.
That's self. That's ego, man.
Oh, that's like a Kanye lyric.
Look, even Janae said in the chat, she said, what am I helping you tend? Like whatever you've produced in the earth, this is what I'm hearing from the statement. There's partnership. Because you've produced something and because we're connected, that means I'm partnering with you on making sure that we can maintain and sustain it.
That's that interdependence you're saying.
Right. So Fred, it's not about like the ego is like, I built this house, I got this big pool and I can throw parties. That's the ego. But I'm talking about what have you produced in the earth that is worth your partner being a part of.
Oof. Bro.
You know what I mean? That's heavy.
I ain't got nothing to say right now. I don't even complain. I'm trying to think of something.
No, but look, Fred said earlier, we don't always have the same things that we like as partners. There's differences, but we have some similarities. And I echoed by saying, but whatever you have that's common, it should be fire. It should be intense. You both should absolutely love doing it. And so whatever you have built, I don't believe that whatever you've built, your partner should just look at it and be like, oh, I'll be your cheerleader, root you on, rah, rah, rah. I feel like your partner should be like, look, how can I be a part of that? Because whatever you have built, produced, has your energy and your time and your attention. I want to be part of everything that has your energy.
Maybe I'm understand this a little bit better because it makes more sense to me now because whatever it is, whether you're initially a part of it as a woman or even interested in it, it should be something dynamic enough that you're able to be interested in, that you're able to get behind, that you're able to be supportive of, right? You could want to write a book. A brother could want to write a book, children's books, or a book on carpentry or whatever it is. But if he displays a passion about it, that's something she can get behind, that's productive and a real positive part of him. I can see how that would be a very positive experience.
Man,
But
super positive. And you talk about when you want to figure out what'll bring you closer together. I mean, y'all been married some years. I think Murph probably 12, 15, 17 years.
17.
Okay, I knew the number was up in my head. And Fred, you've been married more than that, right? And so
33 years.
so here's the thing. Here is, and I've not been married nearly. I'm not married, and I've not got the years y'all have. But here's what I do know, though, just about relationships, about the development of people, about human nature. Murph, we've had these conversations almost 10 years now. Here's what I do know: that there needs to be, as Janae mentioned, there needs to be a recalibration of why we're together, the reason why we got together. And so it can become very routine after a while, kids and jobs and families. But if there's no conversation about we gotta make sure we go back to what brought us together in the first place, right? We were here because we enjoyed these things about each other. It's those things that have to be cultivated. And so if you love that I had crazy drive and I love that you're super supportive, then damn it, what can I build because I got crazy drive that you could be supportive of? Right? And vice versa. If she's a woman who is the breadwinner and she's out running and she's building things and she's, CEO and companies, this and that, and she met the brother and he's like, look, he's like Kamala Harris's husband. He's like, look, I don't got to be vice president. Kamala Harris' husband, I don't know, but he seems very comfortable.
He wiped up.
You know what I'm saying? Being next to the vice president. He ain't like, oh no, I need the spotlight. Come interview me. He like, nah, I'm cool. When I was over, Murph, when I was over in China, spent some time in Thailand, bro. No, I was in Hong Kong before I got to Thailand. When I was in Hong Kong, I saw them Asian brothers, man. They were carrying their wives' purses. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
right. But I look at Kamala Harris's husband and I see the same way that he is. Like, I can carry my wife's purse. That's my wife, and she's a boss.
I remember the first time my wife asked me to go to the store to get some tampons or something, and I was like, "Yeah, no problem." She's like, "You ain't embarrassed by that?" I'm like, "Man, I'm chosen. I'm not, why would I be tripping about being chosen? I'm good, and you just make sure I get the right stuff because I don't know what I'm doing, but ain't no problem with this because we in this together. We got to be in this together." But back to what you were talking about from the very beginning, though, I think a lot of times people don't, because of what Fred said about past trauma, it's hard for you to understand what red flags are when you believe your life has been a red flag. And going back to what Dr. Staples just said, what he said before, which was never in my vocabulary, and it is totally in my vocabulary now. If that man has not submitted to something larger, it just ain't gonna happen, bro, because he's submitting to his ego and personality, and personality is really the id, the super ego, and the ego all mixed in there. And if your super ego is flawed, if your executive order is flawed in your personality, then I'm gonna think it's okay to treat you crazy because it sounds logical to me. It's about understanding that trauma, bro.
Ooh, that's powerful. That's powerful. If he hasn't submitted to something larger than him, what he's submitting to is his own ego. And y'all need to replay this. I mean, that blessed me. If Murph said if he's not submitting to something larger than himself, then he's submitting to his own ego.
What else is there? When I'm moving through the day, like I was talking to my boss today, and Christy Wood Turner is a wonderful person.
You got a cool boss, man. You got a cool boss.
Cool people. We were talking today about. I said, man, I'm an overcompensator, and I just realized that my dad was dope, my mom was dope, but they definitely had two different lives, kind of. Yeah. I overcompensate to a certain degree that I want to have as much time with my wife as possible. I want to have as much time with my wife and my kids together as possible. I enjoy seeing my boys, but I definitely enjoy being in my house with my kids and being active with that. But I know also there's a balance. I need to hang out with the Jasons and Freds. You know what I'm saying? I need to get away from them for a while. So I think one of the hardest things is, like we said, looking through your own lens and realizing when your stuff is your stuff is in the way of intimacy. When your stuff become more about activity and doing and not being. But you got to be able to recognize your stuff. Like, better yet, you ain't got to clear out your closet of skeletons. you got to know what's in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you ain't gonna get rid of them, but you got to know what's in there.
And what you have to know is, what you have to hope to find out is what's in his. You know, if you're a woman, part of the process is the detective work of trying to figure out what his family life has been like, what his traumas have been, so you can have a clearer view of who this man is.
Fred,
why?
Fred, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Fred. I was gonna say, a lot of these times brothers don't even know what trauma is. Man, I got a friend who was kidnapped and they did a mock execution on him. Right. So they hog-tied him and shot a gun to his head, but didn't shoot him. They shot it right past him. He also got shot in the neck and it went through his back. This dude don't think he had any trauma. He don't think he had no trauma. But I know that as trauma.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So some people don't even know when they lay on that sleep, when they laying on that bed of nails. Because I think my man been laying on it since 7th grade.
Yeah. But any woman who knows this part of his history should realize he's been desensitized. And she might expect to be treated in a way that's not very sensitive. Right. True. So, I mean, part of the process is not necessarily, sometimes the information that you get doesn't necessarily come from the horse's mouth. It comes from the horse's cousins, the horse's friends, the dudes on the block. You know, go to the family reunion. You know, go meet his family. You know, go find out what people say about him. Does he have relationship issues with his sister? Do people in his family like him? You know, does he communicate well with them? You need to know, does he have longstanding feuds with his parents, with his sisters, cousins? Does he have unresolved relationships, and not just stalkers, but I'm talking about, is every woman he's ever been with crazy? You know, he's a common denominator. You know, figure out
the denominator.
Does he have issues with telling not just the truth? Does he lie about little stuff?
Fred,
if you lie about little stuff, you'll lie about any damn thing.
When I first hooked up with my wife and we knew it was going to be what it's going to be, I had a family reunion and it was like 150 people at my parents' house. I took my then girlfriend, or I think soon to be fiance, to the crib and left.
That's confidence, bro.
I left. I went and hung out with my boys for an hour. They were like, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Because y'all didn't." I said, "I know it. Everybody was wondering, so it's up to y'all. Go ahead and have that conversation. She gonna let you know what it is.
Yeah,
y'all gonna understand."
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. Hey, fellas, we had an hour, man. I want to at least pose the question for next week, Fred. This is because you said it a few times. I think we need to dive into it. I did not give it the psychological treatment that I could have given it, but this is in its rarest, rawest form. What if I cannot see his red flags because I'm blinded by my own drama? And we're going to,
or pride, or your own.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it nitty gritty next week with this question. We're gonna bring some ladies on. Murph, you mentioned you had some psychotherapists that you wanted to also introduce to the show.
Fire.
I put into the group chat with y'all earlier today about the women next week, and then in 2 weeks we'll also have some more women come on. Like, the synergy has been great. We open the conversation up as men, and then we bring the ladies in, and then they just take that joint to the next level. Last week I was just like, wow, what do we get ourselves into?
Hey, well, next week I'm telling you what I'm offering, Jay. Next week I'm offering straight content and solutions.
Let's do it.
That's what I'm bringing to the table. I'm bringing straight psychotherapists to the table.
Good, let's do it. So you have the ladies in your head, like who you want to bring on?
Yeah, I'm gonna plug you in so you could make the ask.
No. You ask, man. It's cool. It's our show. So just bring them on. We'll send them the link.
I respect you, dog. I respect.
Yeah, let them know the vibe. You know, they can't come to the show. You know, like, smoking a blunt or nothing in the show. I just 40. Like,
bro, I respect you to share the sunshine with me, brother. You know what I'm saying? Brother, eat.
No, it has been a great episode for red flags. We talked about a few. So if y'all hadn't heard all, those who are just joining, go back and listen to the last 55 minutes. We talked about probably at least 6 or 8 different red flags that you want to make sure that you're aware of. I also want to make sure next week when we bring some guests on that we talk about those who are already in relationships and start to notice red flags, right? There are patterns that begin to change and shift and things, and you're wondering, like, is it the right time to ask? He seems stressed. Should I say anything? We want to talk through that for each of you who are listening, because if you start to notice those red flags even in your relationship and you wait too long, sometimes it's too late. And then at some point, before it's all said and done, we need to think about, what if it's too late? How do I bounce back? Right? There's a whole lot we can do from this show. We just appreciate each of you who've tuned in each and every week, man. We love y'all. Y'all be saying some great stuff to us in the chat. We be trying to shout y'all out. Tune in next week to part 5 in my worthy of her submission, and we have some lady guests on. I'm excited, man. The ladies, they dropped fire, bro. Like, I tell you, it was hard for me to sleep that night when we got off the show with them. Like Renee, Toya, Ashley, they said enough gems. I was just up thinking, like, man.
I agree. I totally agree. It was very. It allowed me to, enjoy myself listening to someone else be vulnerable. I'm telling you, man, vulnerability is so inviting. And especially when the invite that you want, the invite that you're getting is truly just a healthy invite. Like, let you meet me. And I dig that. And I think the ladies, Ashley and everybody, I think you guys brought a wealth of, it was just enjoyable.
Yeah. Looking forward to next week.
Word up.
I'm gonna go grab my daughter. It's bath time. She's ready. She's ready. And here's the thing, man. She loves the bath so much. She didn't used to love it at first, but she loves it so much now. You know how it was when you was kids, like the water turned cold and you got to heat the water back up. Like, we've been in the tub. You look like a prune now. You've been in the tub over an hour.
Yo, are you swimming with her yet?
No, we're actually gonna go. I bought her some floaties, like little float.
Yeah, man, you got to do the swimming class with her, man. You could dunk her.
Yeah.
You can pour and dunk her underwater right now. She'll swim.
Yeah. No, next month, man. Next month we're taking her to Disney next month, and so. There's like a little pool area at like the little resort that we're staying at, and she'll be able to get into the water. So I bought like a little flotation device.
You gonna get her the Tiana hookup before you get there, though?
What's the Tiana hookup?
Come on, bro. You got to get a Princess Tiana, bro.
Bro, I'm learning. Cartoons wasn't my thing, right? So I'm learning now.
You might want to learn the Princess.
My favorite show is the Puppy Pals. The Puppy Pals comes on, I think, Nick Jr.
You better learn the princesses, bro.
Okay. Yeah, I can swim. My aunt says I must do swim.
I can just see you with some floaties on.
No, I can swim. No, I can swim. The floaties are for my daughter. She learning. I can swim. It's a myth. Black people can't swim.
I'm just checking, man.
I was a lifeguard. Now I floated like a brick, but
I can see that.
Oh, bro, I can throw that thing out there to you. Like, I got you.
I see you walking on the bottom. You just sink right to the bottom, walk to the victim, drag them back. I can see you getting it done. Too much muscles.
It just did not work for me, homie.
He said floating like a brick. That's funny. All right, y'all. Hey, have a great rest of the week, man.
Yes, sir.
Getting back on here next week, man. Doing it again.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Fred. 06, bros.
All right, 06, bro.
Yep.